Welcome back to 7,000 Volts, Living an Electrified Life. Today's topic is cultivating a positive mental attitude. And who other than Dr. Dawn Smith Walsh to talk about this mental health topic. Welcome to the show, Dawn.
Thank you for having me, LJ. I must say, correction, I'm not a doctor.
Okay.
Although a doctor can be a medical doctor, which most people think about when they hear the term. But a doctor can also be your professional and educational prowess. So I don't hold a doctorate degree yet, but thank you for that introduction. So I'm a nurse practitioner by trade, and nurse practitioners can hold a doctorate degree, whether that's in psychology or in a doctorate of nursing practice. So I haven't done that yet, but thanks for that gentle push.
Okay, no problem. You always gonna be Dr. Walsh to me.
Well, thank you.
You know, we met many years ago, and in fact, you were the nurse, or I don't remember your title, when my first daughter was born.
Yes, I was a registered nurse.
Yes.
And being a nurse practitioner, your foundation or your basis is a registered nurse. Then you go on for an advanced degree and you get a master's degree. And then for some that want a terminal degree, it would be a doctorate degree. And so they could be a doctorate in nursing practice, or they could go back and get a PhD or a degree in psychology. So yes, I remember that was over a decade ago that we met. I know, and the family has grown, and you've grown, and now you're a podcaster. And I'm so honored to have known you for all these years and to be on your show today.
So I'm going to jump right into it.
Okay.
From delivering babies to mental health care, what pushed you to do what you do now?
Well, I get that question a lot, LJ. Like, how do you go from labor and delivery to psych? And I say, have you ever seen a woman about to deliver a baby with no anesthesia on board? That's crazy. That's psych. So that's the misnomer that psychiatry is its own specialty and it's to be pushed to the side. Psych is everywhere. Psych is your neighbor. It's the gas station attendant. It's you. It's me. We've had our own fair share of calamity or just opportunities that could have derailed us. But we pushed through and we found that resiliency. So psych is everywhere, and I love being able to help people remit suffering or at least lessen it. And I think that is at the crux of being a nurse. And so it's an easy transition from nursing to mental health care. I think the nurse is the first psychiatrist, quote unquote, that patients trust when they divulge all of their pains and their secrets and their vulnerabilities. So it was an easy transition.
So, Ms. Walsh, what does having a positive mental attitude means to you?
Well, you know, anytime I hear the word PMA, positive mental attitude, I think of that sage, Napoleon Hill. And we've talked about some of his works and, you know, Think and Grow Rich, which is the hallmark and the cornerstone of so many professional people. So when I think of a positive mental attitude, I think of resiliency. I think of knowing who you are, whose you are, your own personal value, and irrespective of what other people may say or think or do to you, as long as you hold that positive regard for yourself, you'll be able to push back and push through anything.
I agree with you 1,000%. It's almost like when Jesus was walking on water, and it's like he was calm in the midst of the storm, and he calmed the raging sea when he was asleep and the disciples were on the boat, and they're about to lose it. They're like, Doc, you got to wake up, Christ.
Right.
Like, we about to go down. And he just casually walked out there. It's like, peace be still. That's, you know, how much calmer can you get in the midst of the storm? It's just, you know, the fact that his abilities, he walked on water. And I don't know any human that has attempted it. You know, you have these magicians that can levitate off the ground and these different tricks or with illusions and stuff, but we're not talking about tricks, we're talking about real life. And I've seen it in my own life where I've been able to control and hold steady that mental attitude to where you can move mountains, having the faith to where we can move mountains, and just it takes your life to another whole level. And I've talked about it on other shows where people just get comfortable and just okay with certain types of lifestyles and living in chaos. And my thoughts to that is, hey, if they're happy, I'm happy for them. But my goal is to see everybody happy or grow to another level from where they're at right now.
And that's the difficult thing, is retraining your thought process. And when you said that people are comfortable in chaos, that is their norm. You know, when they're in a situation where there's peace and order and tranquility, it actually makes them nervous because they just resonate on that level of chaotic disruption, and that gives them comfort. So step one is identifying your thought process, knowing where you are, and then step two, coming up with an idea of where you would like to be. And if you engage with a psychiatric provider, whether that's a psychologist or a psychiatrist who can prescribe, or a nurse practitioner who can also prescribe if medications are indicated, it would be good to just reach out and speak with a professional as to the thought process or your lifestyle, what is chaotic, what's going on, and how can we help you, get on that path of wholeness, whether that's spiritually, emotionally, or physically.
So what is it exactly that you do in your line of work? I know you deal with people, you deal with the mental health aspect of it. So explain to the audience and to the people that are listening what it is that you do, Ms. Walsh.
Okay, well, that's a loaded question.
Yes.
It could be as simple as a counselor or a life coach, listening to somebody's issues, their challenges, their fears, their desires, and helping them navigate through the course of those emotions to get to what they believe would be their expected end. So that's a life coach. What's the issue? Let's try to hammer this out in 8 sessions or less, and let's get some goal-directed movement going. I also deal with patients in facilities, so that's skilled nursing facilities, rehab facilities, assisted living, independent living, and I address whether it's mood disturbance or behavioral disturbance in those patients. I get a lot of collateral information from the staff or the administration, and also the family members, just to find out what is the issue. But more importantly, what is this person's life like beyond what we see in the 4 walls of an institution or a facility or a hospital? Like, who were they? Where were they born and raised? For example, I just picked up a new client, and the behaviors that were explained to me were, oh, she seems like she's attached to another resident. She won't eat until that resident begins to take a bite of their food. And I'm thinking, well, I look at the age of the resident and I'm like, well, that's probably just customary in proper table manners. You wait until everybody's served, and then once everybody's served at your table, you begin to eat. So is it really an attachment issue? Is it a behavioral issue? Or is it a customary issue, which shouldn't be an issue at all? So a lot of education is what I do in the field. And I diagnose, prescribe, and treat, manage chronic and or acute mental health challenges, up to and including attention deficit disorder, anxiety, depression, insomnia, behavioral disturbance, and autism. I mean, it's a long, exhaustive list. But what do I like to do the most? Is just meet people, hear their story, offer encouragement and validation, and help them get on a path of healing.
Thank you for what you do. We need more people to do exactly what you do in some sort of a way. By no stretch of the imagination am I a psychologist, or I deal with mental health patients. But as a business owner, I feel like you need that training, because you become a psychologist, you become a counselor, and to keep your own peace, because the employees don't see things the way you see it, and you really don't expect them to see it the way you see it. But sometimes they make you feel like you done lost your mind because they want to do things their way and they don't understand that you're running a business and this is not a friendship and it's not something that, hey, listen, I want it this way for a reason without having to explain every detail of why I wanted it done that way. And so for it can be touch and go because it depends on who you're dealing with. And I've learned to, number one, vet who I bring in the door and find out what type of crazy that I'm willing to deal with. And even then, you still got to get ready for that ride you're about to go on when you're dealing with people, because you try to find a happy medium to work efficiently with somebody and work at their strengths and keep them away from the weaknesses while they're with you for however long they're working for that day, for the week, because we always want to keep our sanity and our peace. And it's like you have to be able to compartmentalize and manage people up top of dealing with the customer and make sure they're happy as well. In fact, this past week I was working on a job with a customer, and with all my training and experience, everything in my nature told me, push this job off. His landscaper, who I know, is like, man, we got to get in and do our part. And he's like, hey, the fence guys are coming next week. Can we go ahead and get this button up? And I walked the property at 7 o'clock that morning, and my first instinct is like, no, the yard is too wet. We're not going to do this yard. But he made a point. He's like, well, you can use this side. You can do this. Well, anyways, on a wet yard, and you put some small equipment on there,
it's going to sink and get stuck.
It's not that, it's just going to make a muddy mess, which was fine because we did a masterful job. My guys did their job. You know, you can't get an egg. You can't eat an egg without cracking the shell. And so, at the end of the day, it was a double-edged sword, because now the wife is upset. Oh, look how everything look, and you know, in my mind, I know you're fine, but it doesn't look good now. And so, and it's an ongoing situation for me. You know, you don't bother people when they're upset. You let the storm settle, and you come back, and it's like, how do you, like with me, it's like, it was a dilemma. I knew to cancel that job, but at the same time, I was trying to make him happy. So I made him happy and upset at the same time. It's like, there's no right answer to it.
Right.
The fence guy's coming next week. And so you're looking, and he's pushing you, and they're pushing because they want it done. But you know in your mind from experience what's coming down the pipeline. The question is, are they okay with it, to be able to deal with it?
And you know, that's why I enjoy psychiatry and being a psychiatric nurse practitioner, because as a nurse, sometimes we're the ones that stuck delivering the bad news or the not so good news, or having to educate after the doctor has, you know, given a prognosis or a diagnosis, and, you know, the doctor will spend the time that they have at the bedside, but then the fallout is hours or even minutes later after the doctor leaves. The patient's dumbfounded, like, what's just happened? What's going on? What does that mean? What did they say? And so it's the nurse that's at the bedside, you know, either delivering the news or re-educating. And as a psychiatric nurse practitioner, I'm the one that is addressing the elephant in the room, so to speak. So as you said, it is a double-edged sword. You can't always meet everybody's expectations. You have to deliver that bad news. But as they say, sandwich method, you know, you give a positive, you deliver the meat, like, what's the bad news? And then another piece of bread, the sandwich method. You try to encapsulate it with what could be the good side out of all of this. So.
And you're absolutely right again. And so with this particular customer, it's not a new customer. And so when we were on the phone talking, I said, listen, it happened. We'll do what we need to do to make it right. But right now, we're not coming back on that property until it dries out and let it settle, because when you disturb new sod that was already not doing well, and it gets real muddy and all the mud comes to the surface, I'm like, the rain's going to wash it back down. It's not bad as it look. It will be all right. You have to reaffirm them. It's going to be okay. Everything is fixable. It's like they hear you and they don't hear you, because they were like, you know, now it should be looking like now. And I'm like, even though you explained this in the beginning, they still don't try to hear. You just have to put your Chuck E. Cheese smile on.
See, you're doing psych, LJ. That is psych.
You have to be a psychologist for the customer and the employee or the employee sometimes. So it's like it's a balancing act, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. Like, so from reading books and just my personal life walk as a person of trying to develop a positive mindset. As a professional, what are some key strategies a person can use to develop those key strategies?
Well, as you said, reading, finding an author that resonates with you. I like some of those old sages like Napoleon Hill and Emile Coué. Why do I like those old sages? Because it's the pre-dawn of psych meds, because there's still a stigma that if you have a mental health challenge, do you really have an issue? Oh, you should be more grateful. Oh, you should pray more. Oh, you should meditate. And, people are sometimes dismissed, and it can be embarrassing for someone to admit that they have a mental health challenge. So if a person isn't quite there yet to seek professional help or to see if medications could be of use, then I would advise them to find a good book that they can just dive into, that can teach some of those old yet tried and true principles in developing a positive mental attitude. One thing, easy to start with, gratitude. If you just find a few things to be happy about and grateful for, you'll find that there'll be more things that will envelop in your life where you can be happy and grateful. But if you stay on that tangent and you resonate in those low energies of complaining and moaning and, being jealous and envious and angry and bitter, you'll just generate more of that. So like attracts like, in a nutshell. So to develop a positive mental attitude and to keep the wind behind your own sails, think of things that encourage you and go out in nature, go to the beach, go to the park, get moving, exercise. Your body will make its own endorphins, which are the happy hormones. And if you get out in the sun, vitamin D is great.
I got plenty of that.
That's why you're so positive. That is why you are resilient, LJ, because your job is 24/7, 365 out in the elements. And nature and just being connected and staying grounded to nature and the life force behind nature it's priceless, and people don't necessarily give it the credence that it deserves. So there are a lot of things that people can do, simple things, reading a book, getting out in nature, being grateful, and taking time to meditate. And meditate doesn't have to have any religious affiliations or connotations attached to it. Meditation is just being still, quieting your mind, and just being present and aware of who you are, and just having that silence where everything just falls away and you just say, I am, and be a human being. We forget how to be. We're so busy doing. We just need to be.
And that, man, that was very moving. That was very, very moving. I believe, and I could be wrong, that we all have some type of mental challenges that we just got to figure out how to, some of us has figured out how to deal with it and not give in. I forgot who made that song. He said, y'all about to make me lose my mind up in here.
Is that Ludacris?
Up in here.
I don't know. Is that Ludacris?
And it's like, we all have felt that way. They
Yes.
about to make, and so, but we've learned how to compartmentalize and not to give in to fear, to give in to those emotions when somebody upsets you or they cut you off in traffic or they hit you with their buggy in the store because that song pops up. Y'all about to make me lose my mind up in here. And so instead of losing your mind, you know, we've learned to say, Father, forgive them for they know not what they do. Because when we try to handle things in our own way, sometimes we create unwanted conflicts and unwanted problems in our life. And some of those unwanted conflicts and problems can be, you know, jail time, getting a beat down, or even the ultimate cost, death, and in your experience here on earth. And so we have to be cognizant, if I said that word correctly.
You did.
our mental thoughts. You know, there's a saying I used to say. It says, I'm gonna see if I can remember it. It says, watch your thoughts. It becomes your words. Watch your words. It becomes your actions. Watch your actions. It becomes your habits. Watch your habits. It becomes your lifestyle. Watch your lifestyle. It controls your destiny. And that's just how simple it is. It's not as what it's made out to be. It's when you don't make a conscious effort to feed your soul and feed your mind like you feed your belly. Like we're gonna eat. Some people gonna eat 3 square meals a day. Some people may just eat 1, and other people gonna eat too many meals a day. And there's consequences for all of that as well too. You got obesity when you eat too much, when you eat the wrong thing. You don't eat enough, you become underweight. So you have to find that balance. And mental health is one of the most perfect. It don't have to be perfect. I said that wrong. Mental health is the balance that one needs to find in order to find their way and create the life that they want for themselves.
Absolutely. And no better example than yourself, LJ.
Yes.
You know, you've had situations in your life where you could have just said, oh, you know, it's the black man's curse. Oh, you know, no one wants to give me a break. Oh, you know, and you could have had every single ism and schism in your vocabulary to justify why you would not be a success. And what do I tell people? I say, you know, it can be a bitter pill to swallow. To say, you know what, maybe I have some onus in this. What is my level of participation, whether it's physical or mental? You know, how did I get here? And if we can say, you know what, I got here because of my thoughts or my actions or my behavior, then yeah, it's a bitter pill to swallow, but it's also the most exonerating moment in your life. Because once you realize, hey, I got myself here, then hey, you can get your unself here. You can undo all of that. And, you know, I think when bad things happen, it's an opportunity. Yes, you can be let down, but I'll say, hey, it's a setup. It's a setup for something greater. So resiliency is so important in life, in business, and being an entrepreneur. You can't lose it when you get the first no. There'll be many more no's to follow that initial no, but you just keep pressing forward and you think upon those things that are good and wholesome and lovely. As a lot of our scriptural texts say, you don't just give up, and you push forward and you push through. So you're a great example of a businessman that's pulled himself up from the bootstraps, that made his own way. I'm so super proud of you. It's an honor to know you and all that you've built, and your empire and your beautiful family. It's amazing. Like, you should have that book out there and people should follow you, and you should be an influencer. What is an influencer? Someone that is real. It's not fabricated. Yes, we're doing this blog post, but this is a real studio, in a real office, in a real building, on a real, you know, landscape of tractors and trucks. And, you know, you should tell your story more, because I think it would be not just enlightening, but empowering to so many people, that they can be a success, a true success, that's not marketed and scripted and made to look like it's something that it's really not. Like, this is not, what do they say? That reality TV. This isn't reality TV.
This is
we don't
actuality.
this is actuality TV, not reality TV.
And what's funny, is it Mark 9:2? Now I say it so much now, it's playing tricks on me. But the quote in the scripture is, "All things are possible for those who believe," and it's so, regardless of how you feel about Disney and not. I like a lot of the movies that I watch with them. I remember going to Disney for the first time as a teenager, and going on the little carousel, and Mr. Walt Disney, they're doing a little animated show, and he said these words that stuck to me, and it's still with me today. It goes, keep moving forward. You just got to continue to move forward. And we live in a world where there's so much social media, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just your mental attitude and your outlook on it. Because everybody wants to be the next Michael Jordan or the LeBron James or the Tom Brady's of this world, or the Tiger Woods. And I think that's what a disconnect to be. Because if Tom Brady tried to be Joe Montana, he would never have been the Tom Brady. if LeBron tries to be Michael Jordan, he can never be LeBron James. If Jordan was trying to be Bill Russell, he would never be. Everybody's anointing, their blessing is for their own race. And when you limit yourself, when you try to be like somebody else, you have to create the life you want for yourself. There are good examples to look at and say, man, this guy was good. But if you look at their work ethic and what they put in to become who they are and who they were, then, you know, that's where the light bulb should go off and say, wow, read a book by Michael Jordan. His stories are so inspiring. In fact, I was having dinner with a cousin that was in from out of town this week, and he goes, oh, Jordan was selfish. Yeah, I'm talking to you, cuz. Yeah, you know I'm talking about you now. Come on my show when you come in town next time. So, but we had a different outlook. He goes, I said, well, have you ever read his book? He goes, no. I said, read his book. Jordan's not flashy. He's not one of those people, but, oh, hey, look what I did. We just did this. He does it in silence. And because we put people into our box, well, I think he should have been doing this or doing that, when it's not the true reality. People got to follow their own dreams, their own vision, and do what they see fit. Some people do it for show because they want other people to know what they did. But when you do things, like, I don't promote a lot of stuff that I do. I just do it because it needs to be done. I do it because that person needs to be helped. I don't want, like, oh, look, he did this and this. The Bible has a saying about that. He said, what he said? He says, those that boast in public, that they have their reward.
They have their just reward. That's right.
Because that's their reward. They want people to see what they're doing, and versus doing it just because it needs to be done and not to be seen. And so that's a whole nother mental health issue by itself. Want to be seen.
Oh yes, the attention seekers.
Yeah, people have the attention. Oh, look at me! Look what I just donated all this stuff to people.
Right.
We're proud of you. Good job. Throw the rice. You seen that movie Cars?
Yes.
With the kids, and with the one guy that wanted to win, and Lightning McQueen, he stopped to help his friend go across the finish line, and the one dude that wanted it so bad, he wanted, like, oh, look at me, I won. Where's my parade? They just threw some rice on the stage at him. That was hilarious, because that was a true teachable moment that you don't always have to come in first to win.
All of those Disney and Pixar movies, I know we say they're for kids, but a lot of the underhanded jokes are really pitched at the adults. But at the end of the day, the premise of all of those Disney movies, it's all saying the same thing. Yeah. Believe in yourself. There's hope and promise. There's a better day. Don't let anybody put you down. Come up with your own dreams and keep working at it, and you will attain it. Aladdin, I love Aladdin and the magic genie. That magic genie inside of you is your holy guardian angel, your Holy Spirit, your higher self, Jesus, God, Yahweh, Brahma, whatever name and title you want to put on that higher being, go for it. I'm not into titles and names. I am into essence. So if you believe in yourself and can touch into that supernatural power within yourself, watch the magic work.
Man, this is good, but we're running short on time. I'm going to bring you back.
Okay.
I'm bringing you back in a couple of weeks. I know we're going to get emails, but we're going to have to finish up this conversation, because it's really, it's very important, because in order to grow, you have to understand just the basics. It's not hard. It's not complicated. You know, it becomes complicated when you can look. You can take 10 people. We can all look at this one movie. You're gonna get 10 different takeaways. You're gonna get maybe 7. Believe it or not, I'll even just say 6 out of 4 people is always gonna point out the negative. They're gonna take out the negative of what. Oh, they should have did this way. They should have did that. And then you're gonna have a few people. It's like they're gonna find the positive. And when I look at a movie, I don't look at it for the negative. I'm trying to look and pull the message that can better be from it. And there's so many different movies out there. And thank you for being on the show, Ms. Walsh. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
She's coming back, y'all.
Okay.
But that's our time for today. Thank you. I appreciate you for taking your time to watch. Remember, my book is coming out soon. Visit us on ljtucker.com. Like, comment, and subscribe. Have a great day.